Welcome to the podcast. I'm the host. That's my co-host. I'm John.
We're on the fucking podcast.
It's another episode of What the Fuck is Going On. I'm trying to figure that out right now, actually. Welcome. It's been an interesting couple of months here at Kung Fu Vapes. This dab is for everybody who's losing their fucking mind out there, okay? All right. Thank you.
Insane in the brain.
Yeah. Daddy, what is that there? That's a strawberry guava?
Straw guava.
Shout out to MFNY. Your pods taste amazing. And
Is that a cloud? Can the camera see that?
yeah, that's a huge cloud, actually.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
Sometimes these
Was
don't
it
blow
hot?
clouds.
Was it burning?
650.
Man, just to stay alive. Just to stay alive. A lot going on out there. Feel like the fucking market is just fucking shooting down to ground zero, for lack of a better term. Shit's getting cheaper every day. Price of rosin's dropping like a fucking brick in the ocean. Lots of booth out there. Lots of new cannabis brands. Lots of new rosin brands. Rosin is the king of the market right now as far as extracts go, in my opinion. I'm sure distillate's running sales because it's cheap and it's just readily available. There's tons and tons and tons of it. Can I feed you calamari?
No. I mean,
I can.
might be fire.
Whoa. Whoa. Lee Trevino. Getting fucking creepy. Let's see. The old hash changed my life.
Saved my life.
Oh, well, saved it, changed it. It's basically the same. Can you see that? This is a Quave banger. These are dope. Slurper, excuse me. Not even a banger. Slurper. It's a slurper. Let's see. If you're out there making pods, carts, whether it is live resin or hash rosin, I'm not really focused on the disty market. But, yeah, if you're making pods or vapes out of solid material into liquid material, you've tapped into the right fucking channel, people. Because I'm start talking about that a lot more. Been gatekeeping information for the last couple of years as I kind of figured it out, and now that it's more and more becoming common knowledge for people who are in labs processing for different brands across the country and world at this point. You know, there's multiple videos and different information available, but it's still not every detail is kind of explained, in my opinion. And we're going to do more of that.
Or do you think that's the reason?
Well, because
do you think it's because whoever's doing it barely knows, so
yes.
there's not much to share, and then you get defensive when somebody tells you otherwise, rather than just fucking taking little criticism. And
I like how he segued into that. Yeah, that was perfect.
That's
real though. I mean, look there's a lot of ego involved with everything you do in this space, right? I know for me personally, my vapes are the best. I'm not in China making a motherfucking thing. So a lot of ego attached to things that maybe are real in your head, but not real in real life. And so
my engineers are the best.
Yeah, my engineers are amazing.
Comrades.
My manufacturing liaisons are incredible because let's be real, those guys aren't making anything either. Chris is not on the factory floor making shit. He knows how to make it. He knows how to put it together. And if you're not really familiar with the manufacturing process of a vaporizer, whether it's e-cigarette or cannabis disposable all-in-one vaporizer, which basically come from the same people in the same factories with some of the same components, basically you design a device, they mock it up for you, they show you what it's going to look like in a 3D rendering or model. They show you like the outside, right? You don't even know what the inside is going to look like. You know the air pass structure. Yeah. Externally, show me the aesthetic, finalized version of my napkin drawing. So you can take any napkin drawing, you can draw or get on a computer and design any shape, right? And you could kind of give that over to any decent manufacturer. Any great engineer would take your shitty napkin drawing and make it better, but basically they take your design, your idea, and they give it to their designer and their engineering team, and they try to come up with some type of functional concept, right, of what you want, everything that you want incorporated into the design of the product. then factor in all the functionality of how it needs to work. Now,
but as long as it blows clouds, we're good, right?
I mean, but there's only so many devices, in my opinion, that really blow clouds like that. And so you would have to reference back to something that already is invented, take some reference notes from that, some inspiration, as they call it, and then you would try to work some of that into your device because you know it already works. So you're either going to try to, reinvent the wheel, or you're going to use shit that already works because it's already low-hanging fruit and it's already available in the market. You can invent whatever you want, but just be prepared for an arduous journey. Now, when you work in China, it happens a little faster than, say, if you're working in Germany with all the precision and shit like that. But, China is a turn and burn, baby. They'll get shit done for you quick, fast, and in a hurry for cheap. But if you're looking for high-end quality components and manufacturers and designers, that is where the separation comes from with all manufacturers. Some manufacturers are really cheap, and some manufacturers are high-end and do boutique work, right? Spending some time at any convention, you can really get introduced to people who work in every different spectrum of the industry. Now, trying to reverse engineer backwards from, say, like Alibaba, in my opinion, doesn't really work, because Alibaba is a bunch of different advertising and fronts acting like manufacturers when they're really just resellers. They're very similar to us, right? But they're in China. They know where to go get the shit. They know who has the products for sale. They have relationships at these facilities, factories, manufacturers, and they can access a certain menu or SKU sheet of what's available for a certain price, and then they'll sell it to you for a certain price. And if you want to get it personalized or branded, they can make that happen for you.
And then if it's a popular device, they just name it right after that device, right?
Well, there's lots of knockoff shit. Right. China's the home of the knockoff, and in my opinion, they'll knock off shit, but it's your domestic counterparts and peers and competitors that'll knock you off just as fast as anybody in China.
Because they want a product cheaper.
Well, they want something that's popping. Right. They see your shit is popping and popular and selling. They're not going to usually knock you off dead to rights unless they're just complete pieces of shit, but it happens. Most of the time, people will take inspiration for something that's dope and make their own version of it. Is it as good as the original? Most of the times not. But the vape market demands products, functional products that are super cheap. Just the way it is. Majority of the market has a very finite budget. I'd say 99% of people have a very finite budget. Everyone's not on an exploratory mission to go blow a wad on the newest, best hype new thing. Some people are, clout chasers and are after that experience. Some people find a device and stick with it, and a company to stick with it, and that's the only thing they use. Yeah. I like to think that we are privy to a lot of new technology or new technology or new gear that comes out from different manufacturers. We intake it, try it out, deconstruct it, find out what's going on inside it, test its functionality, if it's fit for market, adaptability, things like that. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, the products that we get are usually something like a knockoff of some we introduced years ago, and they still don't work right. They usually burn super hot. They could be adjusted, but then you have to know how to adjust them. And then each PCB board, if you didn't design it, is going to be riddled with potential pitfalls within those adjustments. But if you just know the basic functionality of voltage and resistance, and then you have a certain type of heating element in the device, you can adjust those relatively easily and make the shit work for any type of extract, because all 3 major extracts need a certain type of functionality or setting for temperature as far as consumption. You're not crushing 800 degree dabs unless you're on the Hot Dabs podcast fucking hurting for a squirting. You're usually just fucking consuming at the 550 or lower range, right? Live resin, sure, you're at 550, maybe a little hotter if you want to get spicy. And then distillate, You can really consume at super high temps if you want to. And this is the contrast between vaporizers, where distillate vapes are set up for higher temperatures, live resin vapes are set up for the median temperature, and hash rosin vapes are usually a low temp device. And so understanding these nuances of temperature and formulations and how they go together will dictate the functionality of your device. There's these hidden components of all of this that people don't know about, and the biggest one, the huge issue is that while you as a producer processor have access to material to make oil, and you have oil consumables to R&D hardware with, the people who make and manufacture your hardware don't. The Chinese manufacturer engineer, for the most part, unless they know me, usually don't have extracts to R&D with. Usually, Chinese manufacturers don't usually have an ounce of liquid hash rosin sitting on a desk in their lab that they can test all the different heating elements with. They have look-alike and similar style, usually tobacco-based gels,
E-juice and water.
E-juice. They have water. They have all. They test with honey. I've seen them test with all kinds of crazy shit. Right? But the moral of the story is the people that are designing and building these engines that we need to make our products run, if you will, they don't have the proper fuel to even turn them on. So they design products for vaping, and they put e-juice in them, and every device always works with the e-juice. Right? I mean, they're e-juice, they're e-cigarette manufacturers designing miniaturized version of an e-cigarette device for cannabis oil.
Is e-juice the closest to distillate?
No.
It's
if your distillate's cut with a fucking bunch of weird emulsifiers, it is.
Yeah.
E-juice is like glycol, VGPG, fucking, just different fillers that the reason why those are the base derivative of what the consumable is because they're benign and they're blank. They're usually non-toxic, blank products that could be aerosoled and atomized, and consumed with little to no effect other than making you go, Right. And then they mix that with nicotine and flavoring in whatever specific blends. I just seen a fucking post the other day of a Lush bar in the UK. This lady had sucked it down through the weekend, and for some reason her drunk ass finally looked at the bottom of the thing, and it said this one Lush bar
12 boxes of cigarettes
equates to 12 packs of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Anyways, that shit's crazy. So people don't even know what they're consuming, I think is the point, right? And the same people that are making your e-cigarettes are making your cannabis disposable devices, but the kicker is that while they get to test the e-cigarette devices with the proper formulation that goes in them and what the hardware is designed for, they don't get to do the same with the cannabis style vaporizer. What they do get to do is find domestic partners like ourselves, and they send that shit over, and they say, here, man, test this. How's it work? And then
it works great.
Yeah.
Blows a cloud.
Yeah, that's it. And so is it hot? Does it taste good? What's the components made out of? How do we configure this for our formulation? All of these metrics are going to dictate what the hardware does at market once you fill it. Certain hardware that has certain types of components is going to have a certain subset of failures that always are associated with it, period. Cotton wicking alloy components have a certain fail rate and a certain fail that are associated with those components. That's why we went to postless for our own hardware a long time ago. But postless hardware has its own specific types of fails as well. And so, R&Ding, being critical of everything that you're taking for your brand, trying all your formulations and every type of hardware that you can get your hands on to just really see what the perfect fit is. Because it seems like from cultivar to cultivar, with hash rosin specifically, all the oil is different once you turn it into a liquid. I mean, some oil's thicker than the other oils. Some product is, when it's solid, some product is barely solid, right? You got liquid runny hash at room temperature that's like jelly sometimes. It's amazing. And then you see super solid, chunky, tan and white style fucking rosin that's fat and lipid. Looks like fucking fat and lipid filled and looks like, cooking grease or some shit. Some crazy shit, right? So and then each viscosity of product at room temperature is going to take a certain temperature and length of time to be phase changed properly. It's the better the material, the faster that process happens. In my experience, the shittier the material, the longer it takes, right? And not only know if shittier, I'd say the more solidified and solid the product, the longer it takes to phase change, and the less solid the product, the shorter of a phase change process it has. Makes sense, right? It's already semi-liquidized and shit. Turns to liquid faster. What you want is that permanence, though. You want that conversion to be permanent. Your whole relationship with hash rosin, you're kind of taught that you're supposed to keep it cold, and heat is your enemy. And if you warm it up, you're gonna cook off the terps and fuck off the hash, and you're gonna be smoking cardboard. Some of that shit's already cardboard. Just comes out the jar tasting like shit. You don't have to do anything to it. But I know this is gonna fucking cause a little bit of controversy, but some hash tastes better after you heat the shit up. Oh my god, it's true. We just had some straw guava in here that in solid form is like, all right, it's cool. It's not bad. But once I did the conversion on it, it really just is the essence of the straw guava. That funk on the guava, right, is really like my favorite. I don't really get that in the solid form, but in the conversion form, the vape ready material is expressing all of my favorite attributes of straw guava. So same shit in a jar that says straw guava doesn't taste like straw guava, but when I heated it up at fucking 280 degrees for 2 hours and let it cool off, I cracked the jar open and boom, it fucking smells like intense straw guava. Put it in a vape and it tastes like
more guava than straw.
Yeah, more guava than straw. And not in the generic fucking midzy, planty, fucking caryophyllene, like fake, weird East Coast guava. Sorry, guys. The real guava. That funk. That West Coast funky guava. You feel me? Yeah. If you're familiar with what I'm talking about, it almost has a Chemi GMO-esque finish on it where it's just this funk. I love that shit. And again, this is crazy. I know. This is weird. I did the work myself in my own little lab. The phase changed hash rosin that once was solid did not express the same nose or taste on the palate that it does after it had been basically boiled at fucking 280 degrees for 2 hours and let cool off at room temperature. It tasted better after we did that. We also have lab data from our homies over at Bodhi High, who's an I-502 producer processor here in Washington State. Shout out to Luis and Sam and them over there. They a while back, we have some footage. We need to fucking edit it and release it. We went over to their lab. They were gracious enough to let me come over and do my SOP and talk my talk for a bit in their nice, beautiful lab. And we tested the hash rosin before we phase changed it. We had a COA for that showed the terpenes and everything, right? And then we took that same material, we threw it in a fucking jar, and we did my SOP for phase change. Boiled, damn near. I don't want to say boiled, but I mean there's a lot of cavitation going on. There's a lot of bubbling. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of action. Is it a roiling boil like you would water on a stove? No.
Close.
But it's close. It's similar, right? And so, because it's fucking hot. There's some shit going on, for sure. It's the layman's terms. There's some shit going on. But, yeah, so we took that same, and this was I-502 hash. Took the same hash. Took the solid hash. Got a COA on it. Got the terpene count. Put that same hash in the jar, put it on the fucking mag stir, put the hot ass heat wrap on it, did the conversion in like an hour, some odd minutes, took that oil and sent that out for a COA. And lo and fucking behold, it came back with a higher terpene count once it had been phase changed. Now I know there's some scientific data that supports that, and there's smarter guys in the space than me that probably know exactly why that is. At some point I was educated that the headspace on an ounce of hash rosin is somewhere around 12% CO2 after the fats and lipids convert from solid to gas form, right? Or something like that. And so there's in that pressure in gas combination in that jar, depending on what kind of jar you're using or what kind of vessel you're using, there is something happening that magic. It's magic, right?
Magic.
It fucking creates more terpenes. It increases the amount of terpene somehow. Does it extract more terpene out of the fucking rosin material itself during the conversion process from when it's turning solid to liquid? Like, how do you got X amount of terpenes in the shit at room temperature in solid form? You do nothing. You add nothing. You would think that you would lose something because the conventional wisdom behind all this shit, as far as what I've been taught and what I've learned over the years from all the different hash makers and labs and clients and shit I've been privy to have access to, is that you got to keep the shit cold or you ruin it, because terps are active in grow rooms on plants at like 64, 65 degrees, right? It's reacting and giving you a smell just from the lights, okay? So if terpenes are reactive in aerosoling and off-gassing at very low temps, then at high temps you got to be desecrating or ruining them. That is the conventional wisdom. If I'm wrong, somebody chime in the comment section here and tell me shut the fuck up. But I mean, I didn't finish high school. You know, all of this shit is self-taught and just learned by proxy by being a part of this industry for the last 10, 11 years now. But I like to think of myself as a sponge, and I know everything I absorb isn't probably the truth or right, but I like to self-educate and filter as well. So I like to think some of the shit, you know.
It's like humans. Sometimes people don't stink, and then they start sweating and they stink.
Right.
Terps come out.
Your terps come out. You're getting hot. You're getting musty. Your armpits are terpy as fuck. Shout out to Rico, man. I miss you, phone homie. That motherfucker was always terpy as a motherfucker. He didn't believe in putting aluminum oxide on his pores and poisoning himself. So he just kept it all natural. He poisoned the rest of us with his onion and GMO terps, fuck. Natural GMO terps. But yeah. So what is that? Smart guy, terp nerd, hash fucking scientist. Well, how does the terpene amount in a product after it's heated at very high temperature increase?
Because even during the phase change process, that the smell is amplified.
Oh, it's booming. It's fucking booming. It is amplified. Why? We didn't add anything. And if you were under the same mind state that we've been taught that we should have less of something once we heat it up. Right? There's a loss when you convert solid to liquid. You start out with an ounce. You end up with somewhere right around 25 to 26 grams, depending. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes there's a 3 to 4 gram loss per zip. Sometimes there's
more grams in there.
There's also that. Let's explain. Let's talk about these. These are like fucking lab oddities, right? Who else has ever noticed that you start with 28 grams of hash, which if you're doing pods, you should end up with right around 26 grams of liquid material, right? So solid hash, 28 grams, converted hash, somewhere from 25 to 26 grams, right, respectively. And I have seen 31 or 32 grams of material come out of the conversion. Should have filmed it, and I think we'll film all the conversions from here out just so we can fucking improve it. But the real spill, the real deal is there's some magical conversion lab magic happening. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe, again, some of our contemporaries and peers or haters in the industry, someone smarter than us can explain why we're seeing this and why this is happening. 28 grams in a zip, you end up with 34 1 gram vapes all weighed out to 1 gram. So there's no one getting shorted. There's nothing crazy going on. We're ending up with more material than we should have. Why? Tell me why. So, as the camera overheats and we get out of here, we're going to leave you with those thoughts, right? Leave your thoughts and answers in the comments. Subscribe to the page. We appreciate you. Love and respect. I'm John. This is
Raul.
See you at the next episode. Peace.
After this dab.
Yeah.